Yeah, seeing this little bit on Twitter where the dad roughhouses with the kid and the dog, putting them on the bed. That was probably one of my favorite little things to put in Uplift Protocol when Gino and Thomas and Star were on the train, and she had to be like basically her senses had to be corralled for a bit so she couldn't pick up on anything, and then having him spin her in circles. Yeah, because my dad used to do that sort of stuff with us, even up until even about high school. But since Star can float and all and fly, I thought it'd be something funny to add into Uplift Protocol itself. So that's why I have most fun with this series. Is like I just can put in all the little things I do enjoy. Because when you're writing for you yourself are part of that audience. You are. That's the one thing that I find makes the most sense. Cater to what your actual um, tastes and wheelhouse is. I mean, if you want to go a more make some money route, you'll have to balance that with what the more mainline things are doing. The stuff that's getting more eyeballs. But again, it's just a fight with how stuff is categorized. With how do you get more attention? How do you find the readers? So that's why part of me did go with this as a serial setup, because some of the other big hitters started out that way. The Martian. Um, some people got caught up enough with, even though the worm superhero prose stuff isn't my cup of tea, it gained enough momentum even as a serial to where people are like, "Hey, I want this in book format." And on the good news front for Uplift Protocol, I have about 25 readers for it now. Because some of them started picking stuff up once I was completely done with book zero, and now that I'm a few chapters and slash issues into book one, they're like, "Ooh, what is this? What is this?" This person is releasing stuff fairly consistently, which I'm sorry, the deep dive stuff has suffered because of that. So I'm gonna work on doing actually recorded reactions and highlights to a lot of those books. And even what I might do is, like, when I'm gonna get ready to do the deep dive on the movies, I'll just do a run on commentary, you know, when I'm watching it in real time. So, you know, figure why not. I've seemed to enjoy gabbing a bit more and writing. And like, that's the thing, everybody. Writing has become very enjoyable for me. It doesn't feel like it's a extreme hardship to put words to paper. So I guess I kind of understand my mom a little bit more with her running. She runs the way I like to write. Basically, it's something she does for enjoyment. So turn your hobby into enjoyment. You know, make sure you balance that with, like, if you're gonna go for a neo patronage, or you're gonna gotta make money off of this as like a side job or even a main job. Try to find a happy balance. I know it will probably be a journey of discovery for most people, because it was for me. I think the reason why I delayed on even writing Uplift Protocol for the longest time is because, one, I didn't really know what I really wanted out of books until all that was left being promoted everywhere was, you know, the what this blog's main mission statement was. It's like, I'm tired of gray morality. That, and most corporate zombie IPs just like tearing up everything I did grow up on. That was also a motivating factor. But it just makes me wonder, like, how much more would I have had out if I had started in high school rather than like now? Because in high school, I did a couple of short stories, but the way the teachers were trying to teach me to do these things didn't really engage me. Because even then, everybody and their brother has had this mentality of like, no, this is the correct way to do it. You know, no, I would say form it more like, this is like a way people have done things in the past, or This is just a guideline, but paying too much attention to technique and guidelines is what really stalled my motivation to really get down to the nitty gritty and write a book. Because again, Uplift Protocol, as it was, had like about three drafts now, and then I'm like, you know what? Nah, this isn't working for this. Like, because in the tabletop version, we basically, everybody was like teenagers basically. A handful of people were like 19 or something. But I realized like for this series, I wanted to move away from that. That's why you only have a few handful of chapters in the prologue book showcasing a little bit of the growing up and everything, but it's not the main focus. The main focus of the prologue book was like to kind of set some of the groundwork for the lore, some of the characters, some of the older characters before the main cast ended up on the screen. So, there is that. Uh, Again, the only way you'll really know how stuff develops as a writer is if you just continue to write. Just like any other talent or hobby or drive or passion, just keep doing it. I, even though I draw a bit, writing has become my main focus. Well, I still draw certain characters. Yeah, I'll probably get to that later. Because again, it's just like it's opened up a whole fun world for me to where I don't need corporate shenanigans to set my mind in motion. Just like, yeah, set my mind in motion. Yay! Thanks, caffeine and other things I enjoy. But ultimately, I do hope that I've gotten across the idea of, you know, male characters that are proactive, that display positive traits of men, selflessness, bravery. They want to genuinely protect women, children, innocence. Because far too often in most modern stuff, men have basically been stripped of everything good, and they've tried to transfer that to women to make it like an all encompassing female character that can do literally everything. And that's not the point. I rather have with Uplift Protocol the men and the women are a team. And the demis are a team. It's to showcase the difference between them and the villains. The villains are pretty much dysfunctional. They all have their own goals that might overlap a little bit, but overall they want to be the top banana. So with issue 4, you're going to see a little, issue 4, book 1, you're going to see a bit more of that. You're going to be able to see Eddie basically MacGyver certain things because he can spot things other people can't. Because my plan for a lot of people's demi powers is to where they overlap to help each other. Some demis are much more offensive, power like their swords, and then you got some demis that are more of the shield. Then you got some other ones that are more like a spear. And I kind of thought to myself, like, how would these complement each other? So that's why I made this a space opera aspect too, so that way normal people can at least stand a chance to weather some of the storm that demis are capable of because of technology. Now, will most normal people get involved? Not direct toe to toe with certain demis, because there's different, kind of like with boxing, there's different weight classes. But most demi teams have a mix and match of all sorts of demis. Um, and yes, the Mighty Mallet is going to be a frequent kind of little side character that'll pop up. Not so much like an extreme running gag, but more like something humorous I'll bring in to where it's like kind of like Mighty Mouse. Like there he is to help save the day, even if he's not like the big star of the thing. I mean, because really, like I've developed so much stuff with this thing, you don't even need tons and tons and tons and tons of overwhelming world building. You just need some basic lines everywhere so you can kind of keep your world's consistency and well put together. And for me, that involves using Excel spreadsheets, just to be like, okay, I'm adding this here, this is in the timeline there, so that way I don't kind of trip myself up. But I imagine even later on, I'll probably have to edit some things as things develop, because while the overall storyline is pretty straightforward, some of the other side stuff might end up making something happen in a different direction. Case in point, for those that have already read issue 3 of book 1, initially I was thinking that the slumbering one would only include Eliza's brother. No, I'm thinking, like, oh, wait, it could also be referencing a certain other someone at the end of that chapter. Ooh, this is a good idea, so that way it confuses the hell out of the enemy. Because I do have in mind of the person who actually generated those prophecies. That's going to be fun when that comes out later. Because again, I have this whole setup where, if you've been reading along, sorry for the slight spoiler here, but the multiverse has been destroyed and remade quite a few times. And again, I did like that aspect from Mass Effect. I imagine it's been in other comic books and other things before, but unlike Mass Effect, I have a cure for the unstoppable, uh, lovely calamity that's outside the barrier of the Ouroboros chain. Eh, and it was also kind of pointed out at the end of that chapter. I mean, I like having little boot drops happen. Not like earth shattering things, but more like little. It's like, oh, so that's part of the mystery that's a little bit unexplained. Yeah, because that's what I've loved about space opera. I love putting in all sorts of like ancient technologies that shape the universe or the multiverse, and it's like, wait, they weren't the first? Like, no. Um, it's not like a super elaborate background, but there will be a little, like, as chapter 4 slash issue 4 goes on. I'll fill in a little bit of the gaps that Aether was basically talking to Star about, but it'll be from the corrupted keeper perspective. Because I thought to myself, it's like, yeah, because in everything in this universe, in this multiverse, for the most part, I want it to like reflect a more uplifting thing. So that's why now people know the Earthstone is basically one of Star's twins from another universe that gathered up people from previous cycles as kind of like a life raft. Now, eventually, the reason why the Earthstone protects her mentally is because, yeah, if the bad guys knew half of what Star knew, they'd pretty much be able to KO the whole entire multiverse. But again, you want, in my overall serial, good will eventually win. Like, they're gonna, they are going to have the triumphant march eventually at the end. But for me as a reader, I like seeing how that journey unfolds. Will there be more like moments where there might be some despair? Yeah, like I put a little bit of that in there, but with Star, she kind of rallies. I like the fact that there's characters that will rally and pick themselves up and keep going. It's like she's like the determinator. You know, she'll just keep going and get the job done. And really, that's like the kind of constant I want for that multiverse. Star will always be there to give a ready smile, to even do what All Might does for his particular setting. Always be there with a smile no matter how hard it gets. So that's what I also want to do with Star, and that's what Superman would always do in previous, versions of him. So, that, ultimately, yeah, I'm having way too much fun making this thing. And that's the whole point. Like, if you're not loving what you're doing, then tackle it from a different angle. Uh, Again, if you do love the whole dystopia, break down everything, yada yada, then I guess go for it. I'll just be over here scrolling away doing my superversive love of superheroes, science fiction, space opera, and general levels of pew pew. Have a good day, everybody.